Welcome back, students. This is the fourth part of our second chapter, Population Dynamics. Now we will start today with the topic underpopulation. Now what can be the probable factors, right? Reasons for underpopulation. Number one can be the fertility rate. So the fertility rate in many developed and developing countries has dropped. Now what are the reasons behind why it has dropped? Due to the factors such as literacy, economic development that's happening in these countries, or urbanization, means movement of people towards the cities. So they're settling in the cities. Now these factors, makes this idea of having big families impractical. Next is emigration. Now emigration leads to underpopulation in a country. How? Because it is the movement of people from one country to another, and this is done with the intention of permanently settling in their destination nations. Next, the last one is disease and illness. Now it has always caused a decline in the population, and famine, when it happens, it is a scarcity of food, right, which is caused due to factors like crop failure, if there is a failure in the crop production, and disproportionate population. Next is the consequences of underpopulation. Now, underpopulation, what are the consequences? Let's study. Number one, it has an adverse effect on the economy. Why so? Because it causes deflation. Now, what is deflation? It is the reduction of the general level of prices in an economy. Okay, so underpopulation causes deflation, and a decline in the population leads to lack of demand. Next is the pressure on natural resources, right? The natural resources and the basic infrastructure of an area also decreases if there is underpopulation there, okay? And levels of pollutions are also cut down, okay? So next point is, now due to decreased rates of procreation, there is an increase in the social and economic pressures on the youth, who have to expand the per capita output in order to support the economy. Now this leads to poor quality of life for the youth. And the last point is declining populations. This creates labor shortage. Okay, so labor is available, but in a very small number labors are available, so there is shortage of labor, which could have both positive also and negative impacts as well. Our next topic is population composition. Now what does this term mean, population composition? It refers to the distinguishing attributes of the population of a country. And what are these distinguishing attributes or factors? Their occupation, education, life expectancy, age, sex, place of residence, etc. Now under this is the first, that is rural-urban composition. So under population, there is the point number one, topic number one, that is rural-urban composition. Now the division between rural, that is people who live in the villages, and the urban areas, that is cities, is significant in terms of geographical distribution of population, and the percentage of rural population is higher where? In farm-based agricultural countries. So the agricultural countries, okay, there the rural population is more. Whereas where the industries are present, that is the regions with industries present there, so industrially developed regions, they have a higher share of urban population, so more people living there in the cities where industries are present and where farms are present. So farm-based agricultural countries, their rural population is higher. The most highly urbanized societies in the world are those of Western and Northern Europe, Australia, New Zealand, temperate South America, and North America. And in all these societies, the proportion of urban-rural exceeds 75%. Now, in many of the developing countries of Asia and Africa, What is the case here? Now here the urbanization, that is the movement of the people towards the cities, the process has only recently begun. Okay, it has just started, and less than 1/3 of the population lives in urban areas. In developing countries, the rate of growth of urban areas is twice to that of the population as a whole. And another very important feature of population redistribution, especially in developing countries, is the growth of major cities. So the cities, they are growing, and almost half of the world's population lives in cities. Okay, and it is projected that there would be about 8 billion city dwellers in the world by the year 2030, and 80% of them would be living in developing countries. Next is literacy rate. Now, literacy, this feature is very important for measuring any population. Okay, so literacy determines the standard of living or earning, spending, and development levels. Now, despite huge increase in literacy level and expansion of basic education, there are substantial challenges ahead. So despite this increase in literacy levels, this increase in literacy level, still there are many challenges ahead. Okay, in the poorest countries of the world, basic education is most likely to be a binding constraint for development. In the underdeveloped and developing countries, a large segment of population is still illiterate. For example, in Niger, the literacy rate of the youth, that is falling between 15 to 24 years, is only 36.5%. And at the world level, the literacy rate for all males is 90% and for females is 82.7%. The literacy rate varies throughout the world, with developed nations having a rate of 99.2% in 2013 and Oceania having 71.3%. South and West Asia having 70.2% in 2015 the literacy rate, and Sub-Saharan Africa at 64% in 2015. Whereas what is the case here in India? India's average literacy rate is 74.04%, with Kerala, which has achieved a literacy rate of 93.91%, whereas Bihar is still the most illiterate state of India, and there in Bihar the literacy rate is 63.82%. Now, sex composition. Sex composition is what? It refers to the proportion of the two sexes, that is male and female, in a defined population, and it is expressed as number of females per 1,000 males. Okay, but male births usually exceed female births. Okay, male births, they exceed female births, but their life expectancy, the life expectancy of males is less than that of females. Okay, so by the time children are 1 year old, there are more females than males. And the sex composition, it may be affected by the following factors. So what are the factors that affect this composition of sex? One is, where women are considered subordinate beings, they suffer a higher mortality rate and a lower life expectancy. So places where women are considered inferior, subordinate to men, there they suffer a higher mortality rate. There is usually a dominance of males, right? Males dominate females. Okay, and we all know our society is male dominated society, and there is usually a dominance of males in populations dominated by immigrants. In difficult environments, there is usually an imbalance in favor of males. So situations, environments which are difficult, not that easy, there is an imbalance in favor of males. Selective populations such as military towns may have an imbalance of either of the sexes. So there may be females more, or there are chances of male members also more there. So imbalance of either of the sexes, male or female. Urban areas in developing regions have more males. So urban areas in the developing nations or in the developing areas, they have more males than females. And India shows an uneven composition of population as compared to most of the developed countries. Now, what are the reasons behind this? First is due to high maternal mortality, female infanticide, sex-selective female abortions. If there is girl child, then she is aborted. Okay, that is sex-selective female abortions. Neglect of the girl child leading to a higher mortality among girls at a young age and change in sex ratio at birth. Now, age composition. The number of people in each age group in a country is referred to as age composition. Okay, and there are categories, that is children 0 to 14 years, they're dependent. Working age 15 to 59 years. So 15 to 59 years is productive, they're working. And old age above 59 years, they are again dependent like children. Now, world statistics indicates that in 2017, the proportion of selected age groups of the world population by region was like about 26% of the world's population were under 15 years old, and some 8% is over 64 years of age in 2017. Now, what does it mean? Which means around 66% of the population is young and they are productive. So working population, young and productive. Any country with vast population of productive age is a blessing, right? But then it should be skilled, educated, healthy and happy. Otherwise, they'll become a burden on their nation, right? And if they're skilled, educated, healthy and happy, then they will be able to contribute to the growth of their nation and they'll not become a burden on their nation. Thank you so much.